I'm live. Okay. This is sort of another test run in a way for folks who I would like to have on the channel. You, all right, our viewers. I'd love to have you on our channel. Remember, this is our channel. It's not my channel. So welcome again to Growing Up Alien. And I'll have to figure out how to actually end. It says end stream. Ooh, figured something. Figured something out. So I have my phone here. Not. I wonder if it's gonna. See, when I talk to Louise, it flashes. But anyway, like, what is she talking? What the? That's yes. Yes. So I have my phone here because I have some information that I wrote down so I don't sound like a complete twat trying to give you this information. So anyway, as most of you know, there's been sort of a witch hunt going on for those people who predicted the election, who remote viewed the election. Now, what I mentioned in the description is that you have to understand that when you remote view, you're seeing a timeline. You're seeing what would happen, which is why so many people ask me, what do you think is going to happen with the election? And I said, I don't know, because I literally have like all these things bouncing around, which was the reality. So this has nothing to do with what side of the political spectrum an individual is. Not that it matters, but I don't believe in governments at all. So when humanity, the Terrans, gain in maturity, you shouldn't need a government to rule over you, which is what it is. Whenever you have anyone that you give your power away to, it's a very dangerous situation for sure. You better damn well trust who they are, and you can see what happened. I don't think we have to. Yeah. Oops, that went so well. Yeah, we're in a freaking shit show. So what happened to the remote viewers who were predicting the election outcome was that they were absolutely correct in what they saw. I'm going to explain that. The goal of the cabal was to, as Eeka said, and many other people said, no, I tend to listen to my husband, please use your discernment, figure things out for yourself. Don't go listening to people here and there, anyone, right? You make sure you use your discernment and talk to whoever you want to talk to get your information. Okay. So that's free will, right? Where you're not told what to do, right? Where you figure stuff out. So that is why I didn't want to do political stuff too much, but I felt I had to do some like heads up for people just to kind of see things and make sure you see something from a different perspective, have a different perspective. So that's why Eeka was like, oh my God, I have to come on and say this. I'm like, oh, all right. What else? What do you want to say? And he gave you that warning. And he said that what they're trying to do is prevent civil war and unrest. I keep my phone on, so too many devices on devices. So that's what was going to happen. The intent of the cabal was for Kamala Harris to be elected. They were going to do this through fraud. So I didn't want to say this before because I don't want to, I'm not going to, I just didn't feel it was so military operations, which is what this was. I didn't want to sort of, and of course, I'm sure everyone knew anyway, right? I mean, it wasn't like this is a secret, right? The cabal has manipulated elections for some time. The goal for this current 2024 shit show was for Kamala Harris to be elected. They were going to do this through manipulation and, oh God, how can I describe it? Well, voter fraud. I mean, this is but a very complicated voter fraud. Okay. So Kamala Harris was going to be president. Okay. She was going to be the one elected. So, the remote viewers are all 100% correct. Those remote viewers who saw what was literally planned saw Kamala Harris being elected, and that was the goal. Now, when did I talk to Eeka last before? I asked Eeka, so everything has to be kind of careful because even though I remote view with him, it can still be read, heard. That's not, it's not secret. So I asked him, I said, what's going on? Because there are a lot of heavy energies, the election day itself, really, really heavy vibrations, energies. And he said, okay, he just said, preserve the infrastructure. That's what he said. I'm like, I said, okay. And what he meant was that they're preserving not only all of the infrastructure, but the actual voting infrastructure itself. And I said, "Are you doing it downstairs here or upstairs as well?" And he said both. So the alliance, as well as the different military organizations upstairs, were using their technology to counter what was happening in the actual election process itself. And that's what he meant by preserve the infrastructure. I'm going to give a plug, which I don't normally do, but those folks, I put a link to those folks who know Lily Nova. So Lily Nova was pretty damn spot on for the stuff that she was giving, right? So you might want to check her out. She's the real deal, by the way. So just so you know. Anyway, that's what happened this election. Okay. So yes, I think, and you don't have to be involved with this kind of idea to take a look at the map of the United States, right? The majority of the United States is red. I mean, I'm just, don't shoot the messenger if you don't like the Republic, whatever. I'm not interested in human politics. I think it needs to go. That's the problem. So right now what we got to focus on is the cleanup. Use what we got and focus on the cleanup. But if you look at the United States, the majority of the United States is red. So, I mean, it does, it's kind of a no-brainer there. Yeah. So that's actually what happened. So for those people who feel the need to go witch hunting, number one, that's not going to really go very well upstairs. You would be taking the side. Then that does happen. I'm not going to ever tell you that some of I work with 4D extraterrestrials that are just like Terrans. They just they didn't get the forgetfulness. They didn't get all the shit that was thrown on you when you came here. But I live and work with 4D extraterrestrials, and they're just like you. And does crap happen upstairs? It sure does. And we have like sort of legal mediation situations that are addressed as well. I was in one, so I mean we have a lot of stuff. These things. As I call them, the cat fights. Do they happen? They happen, right? So, yeah. And does Eeka get mad? Oh my God, he has the most intense anger. It's like God. It's like, yeah. Right. So, however, you have to use your own self-control when something happens. And I mean, I have friends who simply just predicted the election. They did it correctly. They remote viewed correctly. And they're receiving death threats. Like, you love Kamala Harris. They don't like anyone. A remote viewer is showing you what they see. And you may or may not like what they see. And I remote view things I don't like. I see a plane crash coming up. Will it happen? I hope not. I see a commercial airline crash coming up. I predicted the last commercial airline crash where the Brazilian doctors were murdered. So I'm thinking that this upcoming plane crash, hopefully not. It's just a remote view. So will remote views come through? No, not necessarily. They're just showing you, okay, this could, heads up, folks. I believe it's part of the distraction that's going to happen. So anyway, I'm going to leave the story of the election behind because now we need to clean up. We need to move forward. But just to let you know, people who remote viewed the actual winner of the 2024 election were correct. The alliance prevented the voter fraud. Well, they didn't prevent all of it. I'll tell you that. It's a shit show and it was whack-a-mole. But they prevented it to the point where the actual votes were counted by the people of the United States to a point, right? Not 100%, but enough correction. Okay. Now we can move on with our lives and stop attacking people. Okay. It's like, what I want to share now is a remote view and a telepath I got yesterday for some of the peculiar things that are happening, like the monkey thing. Those poor things. I mean, freaking murderers. I mean, sorry, please, folks, don't torture any being that feels pain in any situation. I don't care if you're a scientist or whatever. These people think because they work in a lab that they can get off this kind of stuff. Well, I'm a scientist, so that way there, if I torture you to death, that's fine. No, it's not. That's sick. No, it's not okay. So one way is I'm glad these poor beings were able to. I don't think. Well, they were released. I'm going to tell you that they weren't. They didn't free themselves. But hopefully these best wishes and blessings on these poor monkeys who don't deserve what they're having anyway. Um, that is part of the look here, not look over here, look over here. So the cabal is running scared, and all their minions are running scared because they're being taken down now. So what I got for information on that was this is going to be part of many distractions that the bad guys are going to be throwing at humanity. So please, like I said before, don't fall for this stuff. People are, and I still see people, running headlong. It's like, don't. It's like, God, just like, please don't rub anyone's nose. I'm actually very happy the way everyone's acting generally. Don't rub people's noses in it after the election. We won, you lost. I mean, come on, folks. Competition has to go. You really can't run a society where there's this competition mentality, because the cabal and the Sikar is actually very Draco. Created a competition mentality. It's basically psychopathic, where you pit one person against another. If you think about how this was very cemented in the school education systems here, where you're creating a top-down sort of mind control, punishment-based society that is being, seeded into the minds of young people, into children's minds, to make them hate themselves, to make them feel shame, all the kind. That's what the education system's about. Okay, it's not about learning anything; it's about shame. Okay, so it's very, very dangerous. So concepts of competition, not that you can't have play. I'm not talking about just fun games. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking sort of institutional competition. Okay, that has to go. It's psychopathic. Because you can't have a society where there's winners and losers. Then you're going to constantly have this polarization. You're going to constantly have wars. You're going to, I think, I'm not preaching to the choir, right? You get it. So you may see some of the individuals who were mind controlled. I mean, we've all been mind controlled. I'm not, we've all been sucked into the matrix. Okay, so some of these individuals who are victims of this, they're going to go through a lot of trauma right now. Okay, so they're gonna feel a lot of fear, because essentially what happens is they don't feel like they're in control of their own lives. They feel that they're saviors. Okay, that need to be in place for them to feel safe. Okay, so they're not in control of their own safety. As a lot of the revelations, as you know, especially one of the big ones like 9/11, we all know 9/11 was an inside job. Okay, and I also want to point out one aspect of 9/11 is that that's the way they see you. So that kind of unimaginable violence on beings, right? I can't imagine, was done with a coldness, like you taking out the trash. Okay. So there was supposed to be an earlier example of a disclosure, and the cabal still had enough power at the time of 9/11 to squish it. And they always do some kind of event to sort of get people to look elsewhere. So it's going to be extremely difficult for many people who had put their faith, and it's not, like I said, it's just they're innocent, loving people. They just put their faith in the wrong place with some of these individuals whose only goal was your destruction. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of people who are going to have a ontological shock party. Okay, so making fun of those people who are now in a state of confusion because they're gods, whatever you want to call them, they're leaders, the people who thought were going to create beneficial things for them, which they never were. They're going to have a lot of, it's like being betrayed. I mean, they're betrayed, right? I mean, I think we've all been betrayed. You put your faith in someone, you put your trust in someone, and they lie to you. They're assholes. I mean, but this is times 10, right? So this is going to be a really bad divorce for these people. Anyway, so Okay, going back to what's actually going to be happening now, and to sort of hold space. Like I said, you have boundaries. This is one thing I have boundaries, you have boundaries. One thing I had to learn in life is to have boundaries. So create your boundaries. You don't owe anybody anything. And if they can't handle their own ontological shock, it's not your responsibility to put their diapers on, or to pick up the pieces of these people. Okay. Yeah. It's their responsibility to be mature. It's their responsibility to grow up. It's their responsibility to be self-reliant. Okay. So I don't, you're not owed. You don't, your role here in this mission is not to put diapers on people. Okay. So, but your role in this mission isn't also be on a witch hunt either. So unless you're actually working for the Alliance and you're actually, the ones that are part of that mission, where they are finding these individuals who made bad choices in their life, they didn't have to be in the deep state. They didn't have to do some of these grotesque, hideous things. They did. They chose to. Okay. So there has to be some kind of repercussion and safety put in place where these people are removed. You can't allow people that are dangerous to themselves and dangerous to others free reign around, free roaming, whatever. It's like, no, you can't do that. So that's being done. And the cabal is now going to release a lot of these diversions. And as I said, these people don't care. So they will release a plane crash. They don't care. They'll release 10, they'll murder as many people as they can in the most horrific ways. These people they're savages. I hate to use that word. I'm a Native American, so I can't find Native Huron. So they're monsters. That's the word I want to use. And I'll never say animals either, because there is no being that can, other than monster, parasite. I can't even say parasite. Parasites are great compared to these hideous creatures. So they're going to do anything. So be mindful of that. Keep yourself safe. Keep your family safe. Use common sense. Use your discernment. Right? So what they're going to be doing as they're trying to save their own lives, which is what things do, is throw sand in your eyes. Right? Here you are, sort of, you've got a cornered bad guy, right? And you want to get him. What do? They throw sand in your eyes. That's what they're going to do. They're going to they're going to go crazy. I'm just going to say that. They are going to go crazy right now. So part of the cleverness here, the election celebrations, which are going to be going on, they're going to be part of the white hat. I'm going to say a distraction. I'm just going to use that word. Why mince words? So the white hats are going to be playing this game. So a lot of humanity will be watching, and this is a good thing. So this is what we're trying to do, is mitigate the Terrans going, batshit crazy. That's what they're going to try to mitigate right now. That's not to just tell you that. Because batshit crazy is a real thing still. How they're going to mitigate that is to get everybody feeling really good, right? So doing celebrations, that kind of stuff, with the election and the election party and all the ceremony and all that stuff. That's going to keep the majority of humans busy, having a good time, which is nothing. And that's wonderful, because you're having a good time. You're raising the vibration. It's nice to be it's nice. It feels good to have a good time. Okay. So that's what they're going to do while the White Hat alliances clean up the garbage. Right. So they're going to be behind the scenes taking down these assholes while people don't really see the real deal. So anyway, then what is going to happen after that? Oh, all these things are happening all at once. It's all going to just pile up. But just be aware of shit shows coming from the bad guys. I mean, bad shit shows. So I hope not, but the goodies, right? The extraterrestrial technology, the on-planet extraterrestrial technology, the reverse engineer technology, the new healing modalities. All of these things are going to start just kind of being slipped in. You'll probably, you kind of be surprised. You guys will know. Your average person won't know. They're gonna be like, "Oh, did you know?" Blah blah blah. It's like, "Oh yeah, right." Yeah. You already know. We're not alone in the universe, goes without saying. I mean, I can't imagine. But that's all. That's how intense all the brainwashing has been. That, yeah, people actually think that, an amoeba turned into an elephant. It's like that doesn't. That's not how reality happens. Now, there is, of course, natural selection and all these kinds of things like that, right? So it's why I look like this, why you look like that, right? We have genes and all these things, but you're not going to turn into a gray. You're not going to turn into an elephant one day, right? And you never were, a primate. We are mammalian primates, but you never were, and a gorilla or bonobo or anything like that. You never were. No, different primate. So a lot of that stuff's going to just slowly piece by. I think it's gonna be intense. This is going to be catastrophic disclosure. They're not fucking around. I mean, this is enough. It's enough. We can't. So it's going to be, but it's going to be drop very quickly. You're going to see that kind of slide in. So victory will be in the United States. And I mean, I hate this. I'm done with this now. Those are my notes, by so, not looking at my cell phone. Oh, this is boring. So the United States is going to be the parade leader in a way, not because the United States is awesome or whatever you think it is. That's great. It's not because of that. Like I said, I don't have any connections on this planet. Yeah, because, and I don't want to go through a whole history lecture. History lecture. I do that enough when I'm teaching. But so a lot of the technology, a lot of the industrial military complex, a lot of the project, the paperclip, the Nazis, their technicians came here to the United States because, right after World War II, there was a big scramble to grab all of these Nazi, not just the technologies, but the scientists that worked with these different things, Davis with NASA, all that kind of stuff. So we were getting ready for a Cold War. You all know the history of Russia and all that stuff. There was that big fight then to get control of this stuff. So of course, World War II was not won as people think. It just sort of slowed down. And the Nazis thought it would be better for them to regroup elsewhere, off planet, as well as Antarctica. So the United States had, we're a very wealthy country, so we had everything we needed to be sort of the ground zero for the deep state. It's a global cabal, but the United States, anyway, that is why much of the extraterrestrial meetings and diplomatic negotiations were here in the United States, because we're the bad guys. We're the ones playing around with nuclear weapons. We're the ones shooting them up. We're the ones that were the problem. So that's what you're going to see. Other countries, of course, are all on board. You have that with the Artemis Accords. You can look that up and see where we are there. But the United States will be the one that. No, people say, "Oh, you're lying when you eat your nose." No, I actually have. So you watch those CIA things. FBI watch those things, and they don't understand different. Oh, you're lying. No, I have a hair that, okay. Just for those CIA people, operatives that are out there, and the FBI. As my mother always says, if you want to join the FBI, go join them. But the way people move and act and stuff like that, no. They don't take into account people with different issues who may have weird neurological situations. And yeah, right. Okay. So yeah, just a hair, folks, not lying. Right. Not saying you should believe me, but doing just sending out the messages and information I have. So I think that pretty much sums it up. I'm just going to end it with a funny story because that's what we need. Some fun ET, shenanigans, what it's like when you're married to, a man that wasn't born on this planet, just like I wasn't. So last night, I made a lovely Italian dish, a bruschetta. So now at the end of the season, tomatoes are fantastic. So have focaccia bread, put in the oven, heat it up, make it nice and toasty. Cook the tomatoes, the garden tomato have to be the garden tomatoes with some peppers and onions, garlic and basil, salt, beautiful pepper. Makes a nice, chunky tomato thing, and then you top the hot bread with I also deglaze with a little bit of balsamic vinegar to kinda help balance out the flavors. So, top that on the focaccia bread, and it's quite delightful. So himself was grossed out, of course. Like, he hates tomatoes. So I'm enjoying this, and he's just like, "Oh, God, it's gross." It's like, ugh. So I'm trying to enjoy it. It's just really come out really good. It came out so good. So like, yeah, he's just like, gross, chunky chunks of tomatoes. I'm like, "Ugh." I'm like, "Oh, we're not going to bring this home, obviously. I'm not going to take this recipe. Well, I'm going to take the recipe home. I'm going to make it upstairs. He doesn't have to eat it. So he is a tomato hating Pleiadian. So, like, what? Look, if you don't like what I'm eating, go do your thing, right? So yeah, that's the deal with the pizza. Actually, is that he doesn't like tomatoes, so chunks of them. But I'm not like you. Like, he'll eat pasta with some sauce on it, as long as it's smooth and there's no chunks of tomato. Um, yeah, he's the guy that picks the tomatoes out of the salad. So anyway, it's not a Pleiadian thing. It's just a him thing. He doesn't like chunks of cooked tomato. Yeah, that's pretty much where we are, folks. So onward and upward, and I will see everyone upstairs. Take care.